A dichotomous week energetically. We have solar beginnings and we have lunar endings. March 20th to March 26th, 2025. Some big energies on both sides. And so which one weighs out? Which one's more dominant? This is what we're going to go through. Plus, at the end, we're going to give you a solution, how to navigate this, how to behave to maximize your success, given this dichotomous energy. And here's our summary slide of the influence. I have the summary is we're driving sort of like a yang towards decrease. So yanging towards yin. And here's why. You got the sun going into Aries, signifies spring, the season. And this is the spring equinox. We also have the moon, lunar phase, last quarter moon, waning gibbous a little bit, couple days, then the last quarter moon, then the waning crescent moon. So that's a great decrease, but it's more than just a 30-day cycle ending or towards the end. It's the ending of the 6-month eclipse cycle. So it's an extra decrease. And I think that's why the I-Ching 41 came up, because it's denoting this it's a double drawdown. It's an extra strong drawdown, and hence the hexagram decrease is there. So we have a spring equinox. We have Venus and Mercury retrograde in Aries, and they're going to make the Kazimis, both of them. We have a Pluto sextile. There's a lot to talk about, including a mini grand trine featuring Uranus, the heretic, which is a match to the rave. All right, so putting all this together, I think the Dreambot really typifies all that I just mentioned. And it's basically saying driving/marching towards collapse, war, and insanity. Yeah, it's all there. So can't wait to show you that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, Malaya's Temple, shout out to you. You won this week's Best Comment Award. You had the favorite that everybody determined was the best comment. So congratulations and well-deserved. Love reading the material, most likely because it's a fellow Aquarian. All right, let's go to the Dreambot. If I can pull that up, there we go. All right, you want me to just list off the top? The top word is hunter with a surge score of 1,340. That could be the biggest surge score ever that I can remember. So here we go. Hunter, monster, creepy, step, march, drive, collapse, attempt, arms, ill, flash, insane, and driving. That's our second sort of inference of drive. Drive and driving are both in there. So it's a very, I think that sun going into Aries kind of an energy. Driving, marching. Marching is also in there. And, you know, it's also has to do with obviously the month, but we have double meanings here. Marching towards collapse, war, and insanity. It's all there. Now, linguistic set number 1 says decided ice upon attempt. And the way I take that is the collective unconscious is reading an attempt, and that's clearly there, attempt, to drive us towards collapse or war or insanity. And according to this linguistics, I'm not so sure if that's going to succeed. Decided ice. Decided ice upon attempt. In other words, it's not going to work. Got my fingers crossed. All right. Eclipse cycle. We are here, right here, in this little shaded area, sandwiched in between the lunar eclipse and the next solar eclipse. That will be discussed in the next CIRF report. So we're in the last of the last quarter moon of this eclipse cycle. On this chart, we are in between these two vertical lines, and we have Venus in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde. They're hand in hand in a conjunction, getting closing in on each other. They will both go Kazemi this week. And then soon they will both go into Pisces, retreat back into Pisces. That'll be in the next week, next CIRF report. And all this stuff we'll talk about. Here's the overview of our energies. You have the red is sort of like the Aries, yangy, kind of fiery energy, bold, expansive confidence. This is the sun going into Aries. Sun is exalted in Aries, and so it is very strong. It's worthy to put this energy up on the chart. And then the drawdown is the waning gibbous initially. Then you've got on Saturday the last quarter moon. So it's just gradually, quietly going up. It's the decrease energy, the yin energy. It will be dominant by the end of the CIRF week. All right, starting in on Thursday, the 20th of March, here is spring equinox. And this is obviously sun going into Aries. Here's your picture. The spring equinox marks the beginning of the astrological new year. It's the first sign of the zodiac. The alignment signifies a time of new beginnings, fresh starts, and the awakening of life after the dormancy of winter. Winter is over, folks. Right now, this week, it is howling out there, very windy, and it is getting colder as we speak. The sun in Aries represents the emergence of the individual, assertiveness, and the pioneering spirit. During this time, the day and night are equal length, symbolizing balance and harmony. It brings a surge of energy, yang type energy. This alignment encourages individuals to embrace their inner warrior, take some risks, pursue their goals with courage and determination. So that feels expansive and motivating. But look, we're in the waning gibbous moon. Now the moon right now is in Sagittarius, another fire sign. So not so apparent, this waning kind of emotional influence. But just wait. Overall, then, we have the solar cycle rebirth of the spring equinox. It's the upward feeling versus the waning lunar phase in both the Pisces 30-day cycle and the 6-month cycle. It's cosmic beginnings versus cosmic endings. Both of those are very strong, at least initially. Friday, the 21st, I'm going to point you to Sun, Venus, and Mercury. They're all in a tight conjunction, getting tighter by the day. Both Venus and Mercury in a retrograde, so headed towards the sun, as the sun is always direct. And all three of these players in Aries, making a sextile down to Pluto in Aquarius. So this represents, and by the way, first of all, before I talk about I'm going to talk about all of them together. And then individually, each one of these is going to make an exact conjunction to Pluto, and we'll talk about those individually. And those will be dominant for that day. But all week, we have these three players in a sextile to Pluto. So this represents intensely powerful and transformative energy focused on personal identity, communication, relationships, values, another of Venus's archetypes. It's a very rare conjunction of all three major celestial bodies in the bold and assertive sign of Aries. It's a time of aggressive introspection, reevaluation, potential rebirth. Pluto in the areas of all of life. The retrograde motions of both Mercury and Venus add an inward focus to the process. It encourages a thorough reassessment of how we think, communicate, and connect with others. And also how what we truly value and desire in our lives, what's really important to us. Venus, by the way, is in detriment in Aries, so has a hard time, making peace and connecting with others as we try to find ourselves and make our identity known out into the world. And this, by the way, so the sextile aspect to Pluto brings the revolutionary dimension to this transformative journey. It indicates that the personal changes and realizations that occur during this time have the potential to impact and align with the larger societal shifts and ideals, because we're talking about the Aquarian and disclosure, all these Aquarian attributes: liberty, individualism, while also collective concern. And the Venus sextile Pluto is going to be our first exact sextile, and that's going to be the tightest sextile. So energetically, this transformation on Friday the 21st is going to be more towards the relationship and values, maybe finances. And that happens at 4:32 p.m. on Friday the 21st. That's Venus sextile Pluto. All right. Now, Saturday the 22nd, this is where we have our dominant influence. This is the last quarter moon. Last quarter moon means that we'll have a square over to the sun. But because we have our players here in conjunction, Venus and Mercury retrogrades, those also get squares. So it's extra conflicted energy, pressured energy on the moon in Capricorn. And this is the last quarter moon against all those. So creates a powerful square tension to our three personal planets in Aries. Creates motivational and emotional surge of focus towards identity, communication, relationships, desire for authentic self-expression. Now we're starting to kind of feel that rave energy that we'll talk about later. But also energetically fuels the sextile we just discussed, because this puts a lot of tension in between your emotional well-being and Sun, Venus, Mercury. And where's this outlet? The outlet is to Pluto. So Pluto with the sextiles becomes the opportunity. So this opportunity gets stronger, gets energetically stronger on Saturday the 22nd. And with this layout, so the square last quarter moon with an outlet on Pluto and a sextile is developing courage and self-confidence in pursuing your desires, break free from limiting patterns or relationships, finding innovative solutions to problems through bold action. And that is a correlation, strong correlation to the Rave Mandala, which we will talk about later. And I do have a whole nother video for the Rave Mandala in its complete depth. So I encourage you to watch that. I will put that link down below in the show notes so you can watch that after this video. Also, on Saturday the 22nd, Venus Cazimi happens. This is where Venus and Sun make a perfect conjunction at 8:07 p.m. on the 22nd. The Venus Cazimi, usually soft and receptive energies of Venus, are infused with the fiery, confident, and self-assertive qualities of Aries. So personal values and needs are brought to the forefront, and there is a strong urge to take action. Also, this is the best representation, the first representation of our little mini grand trine. That's what this is called. You have one trine, that's Mars trine Saturn, and then two sextiles. And the focal point is Uranus, which is also the rave, by the way, because it's called the heretic. Sunday, the 23rd, Sun sextile Pluto is exact. Now we have the middle player, Sun exalted, sextile Pluto goes exact. So now the powerful transformation of Pluto brings a spotlight on who you are, your personal identity, your true authenticity. The Sun is exalted in Aries and tends to feel strong, vitality, and more confident. What are you proud of in yourself? What are your skills and talents that have been held latent or hid from the world? This is time to bring those out and make sure those gifts are being produced for the world to see. And then that mini grand trine that we didn't really talk about, I just showed you, represents a powerful and dynamic alignment that brings together energies of innovation, action, and structure in a harmonious and flowing manner. The configuration suggests a time of great potential for progress, change, and manifestation of long-term goals. And this too sounds like the rave. So the focal point is Uranus, and that's in Taurus, acts as the catalyst in this alignment, bringing a spirit of revolution, unexpected breakthroughs, and a desire for practical yet innovative solutions. And then we have the stern, disciplined Saturn and the go-getter, maybe possibly defensive, but action-oriented Mars. Again, that matches the rave. On Monday the 24th, this is where Mercury Cazimi happens at 4 degrees, 25 minutes of Aries. In Mercury retrograde, represents a powerful alignment where communication and thought processes and mental agility, adaptability is in an exact conjunction with the sun in the bold, assertive, pioneering sign of Aries. So it's in the heart of the sun, suggests a moment of great clarity, intensity, and potential for breakthroughs. And breakthroughs normally are going to be with Mercury and communication, ideas, self-expression with Aries. This can lead to heightened ability to think on one's feet, articulate ideas with great conviction, and take bold initiative in intellectual pursuits. On Tuesday, the 25th, now Mercury, that just finished its Cazimi, now goes sextile exact with Pluto. So now we have a transformation with communication and all those things we talked about, the way you think and short-term travel. And then on Wednesday, I just point out that Venus is just about to tip into Pisces. That actually happens in the next CIRF report, but only 3 hours into the next CIRF week. So that happens on Thursday, the 27th of March at 3:40 a.m. And Venus will be exalted, although retrograde, in Pisces. All right, let's head into our I-Ching reading. We get 41, no change line, so it's a little extra intense. And that makes sense based on the double lunar cycles of waning. So increase and decrease are both part of the natural cycle of life. And that's exactly what we have this week. We have both of them. To everything, there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Now, normally, this season is spring, so it's more of the just pure outward, upward, yang type of energy, new life, and it's there, but we also have this drawdown as well. So it adds a real interesting flavor for the overall energy. So at least on the moon side, the lunar side, primary theme of hexagram 41 is decrease or reduction without changing lines. This theme is emphasized strongly, and a person might feel a sense of loss or need to make sacrifices. Might have anxiety, a little uncertainty. I think everyone's inflicted with massive uncertainty right now. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. Reflection and introspection might be prominent. Maybe a need to just accept in order to have some peace. All right, that's it for now. Let's get to the solution. The summary of the influence. There is a severe dichotomy of two dominant astrological cycles that are in polar opposites this week. The spring equinox brings new life, new growth, aspiring boldness. And we need to add to that the Mercury and Venus in Aries also brings more of this, so it synergizes with it. However, it's also the last quarter moon for the current 6-month eclipse cycle. Therefore, the normal waning crescent moon energies of decrease, rejuvenation, restoration are A, on steroids and extra strong, but also B, in contradiction to the new solar cycle. This week is poised to be deeply like a inner conflicted, at least energetically, maybe not mentally, other than the uncertainty and everything, but it's deeply energetically inner conflicted. All right, let's get to the solution. We are here. So no change line, so we stay on 41 for our solution. Now we're looking for behavioral suggestions. We live in materialistic times, but there is no disgrace in letting go of some of your assets. This can be part of an investment in future gain. The smallest of actions, if sincere, can have great value. So practical considerations in hexagram 41 is reevaluate your resources and how they are used. Maybe repurpose so that you can live with less. In personal relationships, adjust expectations or contributions. A lot of people say if you bring your expectations down, you suffer less when you're around other people. Needing to scale back ambitions or projects. So at work, at home, and tasks, at least with the lunar phase, it is the time to really sort of just sit back and relax, especially as we get further and further into the week, the CIRF week. Practicing letting go of that which no longer serves you. That is the decrease. All right, in our conversion chart, we have tropical last quarter moon is the representation for the biggest influence, and it is plotted into hexagram 10 of the Rave Mandala, or gate 10, line 5, and we have Sidereal Sagittarius. Now for the Rave, I'm not going to go through this again. This is where I do a full deep dive into hexagram 10 of the Rave Mandala. And it is a very important one because all those astrological alignments that we talked about, I mean, I'm literally thinking every single one that we talked about has a strong corollary to this Rave Mandala. So this Rave Mandala is the continuum, the energies that we try to combine together in a balanced way are represented like extremely high synergistically with all these alignments. So I recommend going to see that Rave Mandala video that I made. And I'll put the link down in the show notes. So here's our solution. We have the I-Ching decrease. We have the Rave Mandala, the heretic. This picture, by the way, represents you're leading others, you're leading processes with higher principles. It comes into the higher mind, the Jupiter high side of the mind. And then you're encouraging people to improve the processes, be different. It represents a change, but it's an improvement change. It's not just change to change. Then we have Sidereal Sagittarius. Sagittarius attributes are doing things freely, wisely, expansively, optimistically, adventurously. And then we talked extensively about the last quarter moon. And there are actions. That's why we use this as one of our sources. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 sources. Try to find the overlaps, and here we go. Principled transformation. Consciously release what no longer serves you and live strictly by your highest ideals and principles. I mean, yes, you should be doing this anyway, but especially during this week. Less is more, minimalism, quality over quantity, Laser in on what really matters to you. Doesn't mean you can't do things. And that's why we do the minimalism. It's find out what is the most important things and do high quality of that rather than trying to do a bunch of different things. Even though it's a drawdown, still do things in accordance with Sidereal Sagittarius. So enthusiastically, joyfully, and do these things gleefully, but to the bare minimum, like as far as physical output, energetic output. Free yourself from obligations, rejuvenate, repair yourself, because that is the last quarter moon phase for both the lunar cycle and the eclipse cycle. Reflect on the last 6 months. That's the eclipse cycle. Journal insights, lessons, commitments for improvements in the next cycle. Right? So, what do we do with the material that no longer serves you? We go back to number 1, which is to surrender that and let those things go. But stay grateful. All right, as far as social, and we look at our sources 1, 2, 3, and 4, the I-Ching is definitely more of an introverted thing. 2 is definitely more of a outward, and it talks about influencing with others, so that's out and about. The last quarter moon typically is more of a introverted sort of an arrangement, and Sagittarius could be either way. Definitely likes not being tied down is the biggest one. So that could be either with a bunch of other people or completely alone. And so this carrot differentiating yin and yang is, in my opinion, more yin than yang. But I think at the onset, when you have spring equinox, I think is it's higher yang, and it's going to decrease or go towards yin all the while. And it's not going to go all the way yin because you still have that high Aries sort of a influence. All right. Now, here's where we conclude. And I want you to consider going over to the Rave Mandala and being an expert in that continuum. It'll serve you very well because the energies of this week are going to be opportunistic with that sextile of Pluto transformation. You want to be on top of your game with this Rave Mandala Gate 10 Line 5 called the Heretic. So go look at that now. Put the card right up here and have a wonderful day. I'll be getting ready for the eclipse CIRF report, and we'll see what kind of energies and solutions we have for that. I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. Namaste.